Hi, and welcome to another bite-sized Bat Rep, where we bring you great battle reports without taking up a great deal of your time. Today, we are going back to the excellent by Fire and Sword system from Wargamer. I'm still learning the rules, so prepare to be amazed by some questionable tactical decisions and some great lessons in what not to do. My own army is still mustering on the painting table, so again, a big thanks to my friends at the local store who lent me their figs. We're playing a skirmish between my Kingdom of Sweden and the Cossacks. I decided to use the newly published veteran all-mounted The Invincibles army list, and my opponent brought a standard Cossack skirmish. This gave me a rather significant command and speed advantage. As you can see, the two lists have a 3 force point difference, so my opponent chose the attack on a village scenario with 2 defenders for 2 points, and then rolled unexpected reinforcements for 1 point. This evens out the forces, and we're ready to go on with the scenario. And then, as expected, the all-cavalry Swedish force dominated the reconnaissance, and I chose to employ forced march with one of my units. Could have also chosen ambush, but I decided against it. Let's get started. Battlefield terrain is fairly busy, with the Cossack-occupied village dominating the center. We decided to play that entire area as built-up terrain, and then have 2 buildings which can be occupied. There are also 3 light woods and a hill that surrounds our major objective. We both know that the key to taking and holding the village will be getting infantry into the buildings. You can also see that the 2 units of Cossack defenders starting the game inside the village. We both deployed in a wide front. I then force march 1 dragoon unit so that I can get some infantry into the village as quickly as possible. Alright, here's my cunning plan. The dragoons will get into the building and engage with the village defenders. The right wing then engages and holds off the Cossack force on the right-hand side, and then the left wing rushes forward, destroys the main Cossack force, and then sweeps into the village. Afterwards, it'll just be a simple matter of cleaning out the 2 units defending the village. No problem. Reviewing the Cossack forces from left to right, here are the 2 Satnas and wagons. It's important to note that the Cossack units have all adopted the open formation, which gives them a lot of maneuverability. The Cossack center with the colonel, who's ready to command on either side, and then the Cossack right wing, including the only Cossack cavalry in the form of a Cossack dragoons, and then the larger registered Satna, supported by the Yesul. The Swedish Invincibles up close, the powerful left wing with the 2 companies of armored rapiers, 4 veterans, and then the colonel. Now, I decided to field the armored rapiers in 2 companies instead of 1 squadron so that they could retain more flexibility, which is really not the best use of these units. Now, instead of having 2 hammers, I have 1 hammer and 2 kind of weak units. Oh, there's also a small company of rapiers flanking to the left behind the forest, which is just out of view. The dragoons surprised the Cossacks with their fast advance, and then prepared to fight for the village. More importantly, they prevented the registered Satna from occupying that building, which is really critical at this point. And finally, the right wing with the major behind them, who's just out of view. Let's get going. Turn 1. Sweden takes the initiative, and since all of the units start the game with orders, the commanders did not make any changes, holding on to their command points. The left wing advances. I want to close that distance as quickly as possible. However, the Cossacks in the village prevent me from marching, so as a result, I don't make it nearly as far as I needed to. On the right side, I push ahead as planned and dismount a dragoon unit. Quick look on the left. My rapiers feel like they're sitting ducks, unfortunately. They're elite enough to know they're in trouble. And the Cossacks that hold the village, a little confused by the galloping Swedes. Why aren't they attacking? What's going on? And the right wing. Alright, the Cossacks advance. The left wing pushes into the forest with wagons and supporting. The colonel enters the village to coordinate its defense, and then the Cossacks in the village turn to face the galloping rapiers. If the crazy Swedes insist on parading right in front of them, they won't hesitate. The right wing enters the forest, and then the light cavalry dragoons push in a wide flank. Now, unlike my rapiers on the left side, their open cavalry formation allows them to move around with much more flexibility. Cossack defenders. And here's the first turner shooting, which teaches me to really respect the Cossack infantry. My attempt to ride around the village proves deadly for the elite armored rapiers, who lose a base. Fortunately, they don't flee, but that unit has been effectively neutered. Okay, turn 2, and the Cossacks seize the initiative this time around, and form up on the left wing, bringing up the colonel back. They reposition the defenders in the village, and then on the right side, move into the forest. And then the Cossack light dragoons whip around the forest, threatening the Swedish rapiers, and they're just out of sight. Now with the Cossack infantry in the forest and behind wagons, and the village raining deadly fire into my elites, I have to reevaluate my plan. The Swedes may still have been able to break through as I originally planned on the left side, but it would have been rather costly. And besides, it's the village that's the objective. So I redirect the left wing to attack the village. But I decide to keep the small rapier unit flanking because then I can keep the Cossacks distracted in the forest. I really don't want that infantry to getting into the village. The surviving armored rapier base enters the village, and now they can flank the Cossacks and shoot at them with the pistols. Dragoons form up against the fence and prepare to exchange a musket fire with the Cossacks, while on the right flank, the rapiers turn to face the flanking Cossack light cavalry. Some close-ups of the action. And the Dragoons focus on the village, but they are wary of the Cossacks that are also behind their back. On the right wing, the rapiers turn to face the Cossack cavalry and prepare to open fire with the pistols. Second turn of shooting shows how deadly close-range fire can be. On the left, the combined Cossack shooting does 3 points of damage to the Swedes, but fortunately no bases are destroyed. In the village, a deadly close-quarters firefight ensues, and the Swedish elite cavalry, supported by the Dragoons, knocks out a base from one of the Cossack units. But the Dragoons take 2 hits from the combined Cossack fire as well. On the right side, the rapiers destroy a base from the light cavalry. Here's a quick shot of the aftermath. And the light cavalry, because they lost one of the bases, now withdraws. Here's an end of turn 2, and the game is still very much up for grabs. Let's get started on turn 3. The Cossacks take the initiative again and move up their infantry, but the light cav decides to charge the Swedes, which is a little surprising, and more importantly, one of the Cossack units jumps into the building. In response, I push my forces towards the village, and now I want to get as many units in there as I can, and then critically, I get my Dragoons into one of the buildings as well, so both of the very defensible buildings are now occupied. Quick look before the shooting starts. In the village, the deadly firefight continues. The Cossacks, caught in a crossfire, lose another base, but they hold. The Swedish Dragoons, on the other hand, break and flee. In the combat phase, the Cossacks bounce off the wall of the Swedish veterans, and then flee off the table. Turn 4. I go first this time around and then decide to charge the remaining base of Cossacks in the village. The rest of the army moves around. The Cossacks dig in on the right side. With the right wing secured, I decide to move my rapiers back towards the center and form up into a column. In the shooting phase, the combined Cossack fire from wagons and muskets breaks the armored rapiers. So much for my super elites. And in the top left, my flanking rapier unit exchanges fire with the infantry. It's also worth pointing out that the unexpected reinforcements rule has yet to come into play, so no destroyed Cossack units have re-entered. In the combat phase, the charging rapiers defeat, break, and then wipe out the defending Cossacks. The center of the village is mine. Turn 5. At this time, the game is a draw. We both have entrenched infantry defending the village, and we both suffered some light losses. I can choose to play it safe, or I can choose to go for the win. I have yet to fight in a building, and since these are really practice games, I decide to go for it. The rapiers will charge the Cossack defenders in the top left of the village. Their chances are slim, but hey, fortune favors the bold. No luck rallying the fleeing armored rapiers and dragoons, so the cavalry flees off the table. I really hope the dragoons rally next turn. The rest of the forces consolidate towards the center, and I slam into the building. Pistols out! Quick look around. And then I get a lesson in why it's a terrible, terrible idea to charge a building with cavalry, especially when they are supported by cannons from the wagons. In the defender fire phase, my rapiers take massive casualties, lose 2 full bases, and then to add insult to injury, the armored rapiers also take a hit. Unsurprisingly, the charge is broken, the rapiers withdraw and become disorganized, and the Cossacks in the building do not suffer even a single hit. Turn 6. This is it. There's pretty much nothing more to be done, really. I have no way of getting the Cossacks out from that building, and the Cossacks have no way of getting my dragoons out of their defended building. All that's left is to reposition, and perhaps cause an additional wound or 2. And finally, the Cossack unexpected reinforcements come in, but it's too late to make any difference. I repositioned my troops to get them out of the short-range fire, and then fortunately rally the dragoons. The Cossacks dig in, and then at the top of the field we both move our forces. And here's one last look around the field. So the battle ends with both forces occupying the village, dug in and ready for more. How did the game end? Well, the Swedes suffered quite a few casualties compared to the Cossacks, so let's tally up the points. We both occupied the village for 2 points. I suffered heavy losses, which are worth 0, and Cossacks suffer acceptable losses for 1, which brings the total to 2 versus 3, which for this size of the game is a draw. Now looking back at the battle, I have a feeling that if my elite cavalry charged the village defenders in the first turn, I would have been able to push them out and perhaps, just perhaps, scored a solid win. Or perhaps I would have gotten wiped out in the process. Oh, the what-ifs of gaming. Thanks for watching. If you would like to know more about the By Fire and Sword system, check out the website, and then see you next time on Bite-Sized Bat Reps.